What if every trip could become more than sightseeing? What if it was a way to truly walk inside the culture, the history, and the lives of the people that call the destination home? Michelle, what is the biggest difference between a typical tour and a pilgrimage?
Short answer is the sheer amount of walking.
Well, and also a lot of times when you take a tour, you go to the big cities of a place. Like you might go to in Spain, Madrid or Barcelona, where on pilgrimage, we're walking through villages that no tourist has ever seen. So you really get a taste of the local lifestyle.
For those people who are new to Inspire Travels with Patti, I'm Patti Hunt, and I created this podcast to inspire you to live life more fully. For me, that is through travel, but travel doesn't have to be the big, huge places or complicated or expensive. Travel comes in all different forms, as we are going to see today. I'm with Brian and Michelle Coleman of Cruising with the Colemans, and they've been together since 2006, traveled almost all of the US states, traveled to Mexico and Europe, traveled in their tent, traveled by Airbnbs, in hotels, and now they are in a travel trailer. And they are also part of going on pilgrimages, these tours, as well as hosting their own. So we are going to jump in. Where did travel kind of start for you guys? What was the inspiration to start traveling?
Well, thanks for having us, Patty. We're so excited to be here and talk to you. It was great to meet you a month ago. Travel to us has evolved a lot over the years. I specifically was a very timid traveler. I was afraid, not necessarily to go, but I was afraid of the unknown of what I was gonna find. You were more of the traveler.
I was more of a traveler. My mom used to work for an airline. So growing up, we would just fly anywhere for the weekend just because. We would have days that we would like fly to Washington, D.C. just for the day to go to the Smithsonian and then fly home that evening. But as a young teacher, I was broke. So I had no money to travel. But when you travel with student groups, that covers a lot of your expenses. So I did a lot of that. Then as we got married, after we got married, we started doing more traveling together. And like you said, with tent camping is the cheapest way to go for many trips. And then that's just kind of expanded and evolved. And now we do what we do now.
It has been such a evolution, I guess. And I did mention both of you are teachers. You are a high school teacher, Brian.
Right.
Michelle, you teach higher education. So it's a whole different, when you travel on a trip with students, you do get to see things in a whole different way. I was a teacher as well. So we're not going to dive into that just yet. Let's dive into what pilgrimage is. Again, I thought it was more of a religious thing, but it is not. Or in some cases, I guess it could be.
It can be religious.
Yeah. So you guys are sort of the expert. I'll let you explain what pilgrimage is.
So you don't have to be religious to go on pilgrimage. And that's the big difference that people, like you said, you didn't know that. You can be, and there is a lot of history, religious history that goes into what makes up a pilgrimage. And you do see a lot of churches and you can attend mass. So that can be, for an individual, a very significant part of the journey, but it doesn't have to be.
No, the first pilgrim on the Camino de Santiago was King Alfonso II, and that was 1,200 years ago. And many pilgrims, in the medieval, Middle Ages, all of those times, were traveling for religious reasons. But a lot of pilgrims now are traveling for the adventure.
And for just some sort of change they want in their life. They've gone through maybe a divorce or a death, or they've retired, and they are looking for a kickstart to seeing the world through a different lens. And pilgrimage is about walking with intention. So it's about thinking about, where do I want to go next with my life? And what a great opportunity to be able to have the time and space to be able to explore what that question means to you.
So when we spoke, you said there were 4 main reasons that people do pilgrimage. We are going to get into all the hiking parts and what we need, but those four main reasons. Can you talk about those?
Yeah, so I just mentioned two. We call it the 4 Ds. So people may go because they have gone through a divorce. And that can be a divorce from a job. It can be a divorce from like your sibling, your kids, because maybe they just left the house and
Becoming an
they're,
empty nester.
yeah, you're becoming an empty nester. It may be because of divinity. You want to explore religion. Maybe you're a lapsed Catholic or some other type of religion, but maybe you want to explore divinity. And the other two?
Then we also say diet, because a lot of people go on pilgrimage to lose weight. I think most of them are probably not successful in that one. But just getting more fit, which you definitely will get more fit on the Camino. And then the fourth is for discovery, for taking the adventure and finding new places and meeting new people and experiencing new things.
And discovery with yourself.
So when we first talked about this, I've been over the last several years. So I've done some international travel. I've traveled in the country. I've done the RVing for people who don't know. So I've done various types of travel. Being in an RV and traveling for over 3 years really changed the way I look at a destination. My husband and I, when we started out in the RV, said we were going to hit every national park in the country. And I was like, okay, well, some of them sound like a good idea, but that just didn't feel right for me. And in 3.5 years, we never got to one single national park. Now, I'm not proud of that. There are national parks I want to go to. But the reason we never got to one is because of the little town, for instance, in Bonacqua, Tennessee. People from Tennessee don't even know where that is. And we just immersed ourselves in the culture. We stayed there for 4 days. It was one of the most amazing experiences. And I started to think about those were the kinds of trips that I want to take. So as I talk about the places I want to visit, I want to go see like the Northern Lights, and I want to go to Italy, definitely on my bucket list. And I shared this with you. Every time I say I want to go to Italy, most people who've been there will say, oh, the Colosseum, Rome. And I keep thinking to myself, no, there's got to be more than everything that we see on social media. And so when you guys were talking about the trip that you had taken, I could feel it. That's what felt right. I'll be honest, I'm not sure about all the hiking, and we'll get into that. So talk about that trip that you took from, I forget where you started, into Italy.
We walked in 2022 on the Via Francigena, where we walked from Switzerland to Rome. It actually starts in Canterbury, England, and goes to Rome. It's
1,600 miles, give or take.
Yeah.
And it walks from England all the way through France and then Switzerland and then Italy.
We did that in 2022 for turning 50. We did 50 days on the Via Francigena. We loved Italy so much and all of the little villages that we came across that we knew we wanted to go back. So last year, we walked on the Via di Francesco, which is the way of St. Francis. And we didn't know anything about St. Francis when we started planning this trip. But we really thought this is a way to go back to Italy.
Yeah.
And so we walked from Florence to Assisi. And then this year, because the trail actually goes from Assisi to Rome, it continues on into Rome, we were like, we have to go back, we have to finish it. So we're going to walk from Assisi into Rome, and then we're going to meet a group. We're going to take a group of pilgrims, and we're starting them in Greccio and going on to Rome. Why did we decide Greccio?
Greccio is, most of the villages along the Via di Francesco have some significance to the life of St. Francis. Greccio was a place that he lived for a while after he returned from a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. And he was there at Christmas time and decided he wanted to recreate the Passion, the Nativity part of the Passion. Mm-hmm. So he did that in the 1100s, and it is credited as being the first living nativity, and the first nativity period. So that the Greccio is the home of the nativity scene.
And I just think the idea of starting in a place that's filled with so much love is a beautiful place to start. And let me tell you, the views in Greccio will blow everyone's mind. They are amazing.
And Italy is fantastic, and there are so many good tourism spots. I mean, Florence obviously is amazing. Everyone's seeing Milan all over TV right now because of the Olympics. But
Right.
we like some of our favorite places in Spain are the smaller towns. Like we love Gubbio, which Gubbio is a mid-sized city, maybe the equivalent of like a Columbus, Ohio, population-wise. But it's just this still feels like it's this old history town. I mean, there's no like town center with skyscrapers or anything like that. But it's just there's beautiful cathedrals, there's beautiful parks in the area. And you can take a funicular from the bottom of the city up to a castle at the top and a church. And it's just, there's so much history and amazing food. And
Yeah.
you take that funicular up and you sit down at the little cafe at the top and you get a glass of wine and just look out over the valley below you. It's amazing.
Now we got to not oversell this because I have to tell you, Patty, that we have so many pilgrimages that we want to lead groups on that this year is actually probably the last year we're going to lead a group in Italy for at least probably 5 years because of all the other places that we've got planned over the next couple of years. So we don't want to get you too excited
About Italy.
about Italy.
You can't not get me excited about Italy. It's just not going to happen. It has been on my bucket list forever. So that's just not going to happen. The thing I want to point out, my view of taking a tour, whether you're in Washington, D.C., and you get on a bus and go on a tour, or you're in another country doing it, my view of it had really been a bus full of people. The leader has a sign in the front. You're told, this is where we're meeting at such and such a time. Here's the Coliseum. And they share information about all the main typical tourist places. That's my view. Maybe a little limited and distorted. I don't know. But that just never felt, I'm not one to just go with the crowd, especially a big crowd and that kind of thing. When you described the pilgrimage that you walked on, I want you to talk about that going into villages, sitting with the nonas. I want you to share that with my listeners.
Yeah, so you won't see a bus the entire time you're on our trek because that's not going to happen. We have first of all, our group is limited to 12 people. We like small groups, intimate settings where we can sit around the dining room table with a nona and have dinner. We want that experience for everybody. So our trips are a little bougie. So, we stay in nice hotels and we have a luggage service that takes your suitcase from town to town. So you're free, not necessarily to hike, but to wander all day. And I think that's a big distinction. You have all day to go from town to town. And if you're like, Michelle, that mileage is too much, then we can transport you ahead and you can walk a half a day. Maybe that's what you want to do. Because every single day we can get you from village to village by car, not bus, by car, but you don't have to. And to me, like that is a huge difference when it comes to the trip and wandering. I mean, I love the wandering part about our trip.
Well, and a lot of people get a little freaked out about, there's no way I could walk 14 miles in one day. The thing is, we're not starting a hike and then hiking for 14 miles. There might be one or two villages along the way. So in that 14-mile walk that day, you're going to eat a couple of meals and sit down and rest. You might wander into a church or wander into a museum or an archaeological site. There's all sorts of things along the route or just sit down under a tree and stick your feet in the river. So you just never know what's going to hit you on any given day that might be a distraction along the way. And that's the magic of it.
And what I love about this is, again, you're going into the little villages, you're immersing yourself in the culture, you're talking to the people. It's not just here's the big major thing. And again, I have nothing against that. I feel like if I go to Italy, I should at least stop by Rome.
Yeah. And we do that. That's at the end of the trip. Yeah.
Right. But, and I use that as an example because there are so many other places in Italy I want to go. But that said, to the off the beaten path, the behind the scenes, call it what you want, is what really feels So that's what feels right for me, that's for sure. So talk a little bit more about some of the experiences that most people just don't have on your, I'm going to say, typical tours.
Yeah. Well, I think what drew us to pilgrimage to begin with is that as an RVer, just like you said earlier in that little town in Tennessee, we found all those little towns when we were tent camping, RVing, and we loved it. So that's what we were drawn to in these is seeing these towns. The like big town along the way is Rieti, and Rieti's a cool
Yeah,
place.
Rieti will be our second night on the trip. And it's considered the belly button of Italy because it's directly in the geographic center of the country. But it's still, even as the biggest town we have on the trip until we get to Rome, it's still a pretty small place. There's a couple of museums and there's some things there to do, but there's not a ton of stuff, even in some of those bigger towns, which allows you to just sit in a piazza and watch the sunset.
And then there's like a place where we're going that isn't in a town at all. It's in the middle of nowhere, but your views of the region, which is Lazio, that we're going to be in, go on for days. And then we
Well,
walk.
and that's a farm.
Yeah.
That's a family olive farm. And the family has owned this olive farm and been producing oil for 400 years.
Wow.
And then after that night, there was another little museum, Montebrete.
Oh, Montelibretti.
Yeah.
Montelibretti.
That-
And what was in that
Oh, I don't
town?
remember. I don't remember what was in that town. I'd have to look at our notes.
I think the big point here is that I'm trying to get across and that I'm hearing and feeling. It's sometimes not about the rush. Let me see everything. Let me have a bucket list of everything everybody has said to go see and do, but just really be in the moment. Sometimes those views, sometimes I know when I first started RVing, it was, okay, we're going to be here this today. So I need to see everything I could possibly see because I might never come back, which is kind of ridiculous. And so I was rushing so much, I didn't stop to appreciate the sunset or the stars, just to slow down and just be. I think that's a big important thing for me. Like you said, just put your feet in the water and just sit and take in the surroundings, the sunsets, the beauty. I can't imagine what it'd be like to be on a farm with olive trees. Like you don't see that here in the US.
Right.
So
And you'll see a
really
lot of
just
olive trees on this track.
I bet,
Well,
I
and
bet.
our philosophy for every trip we take, any place we go, is always that it's never, this is our only time being here. It's our first time being here. And while it may be really low on the list to return there, we figure someday we'll return. So we don't have to do everything. And I think another pro tip, for a lot of your listeners is that when we are in those bigger towns, we do some of those tours. You just have to be really careful of vetting them. We always look for tours when we're booking a tour that is a small tour group, like less than 20 people. If we're doing a skip the line tour of the Vatican, I don't want to be in a group of 50 people trying to work through the Vatican Museum. I want to be in a group of 5 or 6 or maybe 10. And you pay more for those, but it's such a better experience. It's the same reason why we a lot of times won't do like a food tour of a place. We do a cooking class. Because going to a cooking class, you're in one spot, you get to learn about the culture, you get to learn so many times about the why they make something the way they make it, and then you get to take the recipes home and recreate it for your friends at home who say, I want to go to Italy too.
Right. And so we kind of skipped over it. You guys actually run your own tours. That's what we're talking about. That is a great tip, by the way, if you are going on a tour in a city, to consider those smaller tours. Make sure it's a good fit for what you're looking to do. It doesn't have to be the big tour with the person at the sign. And for some people, that's fine for them. That's okay. Clearly not for me. So the pilgrimages that you lead, I know you have one to Spain that is sold out,
Yep.
and I know you have this one in Italy that we've been talking about, which is almost sold out, correct?
Correct.
And so anybody that's in June, right?
Yes.
That trip is in June. So anybody interested, I'll put the information in the show notes. Now we talked about hiking. Let's talk a little more about that. I don't feel like I'm in the best shape. When I was RVing, I did a lot more walking. Some people know I've been in the house for almost 2 years, and so a little less walking. It's Pennsylvania, it's been really cold. But as you said, while it is a hiking type trip, you don't have to be like, how physically fit does somebody have to be? I guess that's how I'll ask it.
Well, I think the one, you can start walking today, right? You can, fortunately, in Ohio and in Pennsylvania, the weather's actually going to be nice this weekend.
Oh,
I mean, not Florida nice. Let's not get too
right.
excited,
Yeah,
right?
let's not get crazy. Yes.
But you could also walk at a mall. Just get started. Your body doesn't need to walk an extreme amount of miles. Your body needs consistency. Whenever we, suggest to people training, it's about day after day, start where you can. Go for a mile every single day. When you're ready to go 2 miles, go 2 miles. When you're ready for 3, go 3. But your body needs that consistency to train. You also, on the pilgrimages that we walk, most of the time it's just pavement. So you need to be able to walk on pavement, which is the easiest way to train, right? You can go to your local mall if malls still exist in your area. You can go to, walk a track at a high school or something like that. But consistent walking is what's most important.
And just getting out and doing what you can do. We talk about, if your schedule allows, maybe walk 1 or 2 miles in the morning and then go about your day, and then in the evening walk another mile or 2. It doesn't have to be this big long chunk of, I'm going on an 8-mile hike and it's going to take me 4 hours to do.
I think too, when you're walking and you're walking, say, around the neighborhood. I live in a neighborhood that honestly, it's relatively boring. It's just townhouses. There's nothing much. So that mile feels like a lot. But when I go to Disney World and I look at my mileage and I've done 5+ miles a day, it didn't feel like it. And I think that's part of it too. When you're out, you're exploring. And it's like you said, it's not like you're walking that straight through 10, 14 miles at one time. You're stopping. And then you said you also have the luxury of a car. So if you're a little more limited in how much you can walk, you don't have to carry all your suitcases, which is great. So you don't have to carry all your stuff. So that is awesome.
Yeah, all you need to carry with you all day is water and, maybe a snack or two if you want, like really minimal amount. You just want to make sure you have water with you. But a couple of the days we even have our car service is going to be dropping off lunch, and we're going to do a couple picnic lunches. So, and then there'll be plenty of cafes on some of the days where you'll be able to just sit in a cafe and enjoy whatever you snacks you want,
Right.
One of the things we love about walking in Italy is that you get to have pizza and pasta every single day, and both in the same day, and you don't have to feel guilty because you just, finished walking 8 or 10 miles.
Right. And it doesn't count for calories, is what I'm
No,
told.
not at all.
Vacation calories never count.
And gelato also never counts.
Gelato. My thing is, so anybody who's ever listened to the podcast knows I start my morning with a mocha every morning. I have a espresso machine, like make it from scratch every morning. So that's another, going to Italy, that's going to be a big part of that. The cafes are going to be big.
Mhm.
Um,
The coffee there is amazing.
that might be a problem because then I'll come back and I'll be like, what was I drinking?
Every single year we come home from Europe, I'm always like, in my Amazon cart is some sort of $500, $600 espresso machine. And I'm like, Brian, this has to be the year we get the espresso machine. And
Haven't yet.
haven't yet.
Well, we'll talk about it because I have the $600 plus espresso machine, and that's what I use every morning. So, yeah, we'll have to talk about that. Okay, so anybody who is interested could go to the website. Certainly, it's if it's not this particular trip with you guys, the idea of going into a destination and being immersed in the culture, seeing it from a whole different way is really what, we're looking to bring out here. Before we start our close up, is there anything else that I didn't ask that you want to share?
Well, I think the big thing is we know that people are called to pilgrimage. So we have trips available because we know there is a moment that someone's going to say, it's kind of like what I'm hearing you say, Patty, it's calling me, it's calling me. A thing you didn't even know was calling you is what's calling you. And so our job is easy, right? We just put the trips on the website, and we have trips through 2028. People can pre-register with a $50 fully refundable deposit just to say, I want to be one of those people. We have that. For the trip in Italy, like I said, we're going to different countries all the time. We'll be in England, Portugal. We're looking at a Japan trip. We're looking at a South Africa trip. We've got a lot coming down the pike. We'll be back in Spain again. But this trip for Italy, the deadline is coming up fast. We'll be closing in March. So because we got to get the group meshing, because we believe that for the group, it's all about them getting to know each other and having time together, because the group dynamics make a big difference in the success of the trip.
So you have the groups actually communicating, like you do conversation Zoom meetings?
We do 2 Zoom meetings that we get everybody together. And then we also have a group chat going on. So our Spain group chat has already been formed because that trip sold out. And I'm telling you, I woke up to like 20 messages this morning. They're all working on booking their flights and trying to get their flights booked together. So it's really fun. And it's really fun to see the relationships, come together. The next thing that will come up in the group chat will be, ooh, I found this cute little outfit at this store. You guys, it's on sale. And that's going to be, that'll be the next part that everyone's chatting about. And Brian's over here, and all the guys on the trip are like, oh my gosh, they're talking about clothes again.
That is awesome. And I was, as we talked about before we got on the call, I was looking at the website. There is a list of everything you need to be part of the trip, like the right backpack and things that I hadn't even thought of, as well as, what's required, the walking part of it. So those of you, I was kind of nervous. I'm like, how much walking are these people actually talking about? Like, what? So there's a lot of information about that on your website, which was great, and frequently asked questions. And the one question that I asked you before you started, we're just going to get a little geeky here, is it said throughout your suggestions not to buy cotton clothes. So Brian.
For hiking, the saying is that cotton is rotten. And that's because, everybody's had that experience of wearing a cotton t-shirt and getting sweaty, and it just sticks to you and just feels gross. But more importantly, Michelle,
when you're hand washing your clothes, and we do hand wash our clothes, even if there's a washing machine, there are no dryers. And so your clothes have to be able to dry on a line overnight, and preferably before you go to bed. And cotton doesn't dry very quickly. So no cotton.
Okay, just a little geeky there.
Yeah.
I, was looking at this list, and as you said, it really is also an exercise in packing light. You said that you wear and wash and repeat the next day, which is a little bit out of my comfort zone, but probably a cool way to go. Just minimalist. It's not a fashion show. Wash and wear.
But think about this. Number one, in an RV, you can't bring that much. So it's that a little bit of an RV philosophy in taking less, but also it's one less decision, right? If you're just washing and wearing, I don't have to worry about or think about what I'm wearing. Now, I will say, I always have a sundress in my suitcase because there is room for it. There's room for a couple more items, maybe wash and wear every other day, but it is about packing light.
this is definitely not a 2-week trip where you're going to have, 12 or 14 outfits with you. One of the philosophies on pilgrimage is that the things you're carrying with you are a metaphor for the baggage you carry in your life. Wow. So we can get deep there and dive into that, but it isn't a thought. We don't need all the stuff that we think we need. And on a trip like this, you find out very quickly those extra things just get in the way.
And that's a big parallel to downsizing for most people who go in an RV because they're downsizing. There's a lot of talk about what to get rid of in the downsizing. And it's not just about, it is about letting go of things that you don't need. And there is a big metaphor there that, yeah, we'll have to dive down that road, but it is definitely something that for people to think about, and somebody who can go on this trip and say, okay, I'm going to go with minimal. That could be a thing in itself right there.
Yeah.
Walking a pilgrimage in a group like ours is very much like attending a 2-week-long group therapy session.
Okay. Okay. That is good to
Good
know.
group therapy.
Very
There's
well.
always wine.
Yes.
Yeah, there you
Or
go.
gelato.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does sound like it's something more than just being on a trip and seeing the sights. And that, again, is what really moved me when we were talking about this type of trip. I don't know if I'm ready for it. I'll be honest, in June, I would love to say I am and love to get some of those last few spots. Who knows? Like, we never know what's going to happen.
You'll know when it's time. When you're called to do it, you'll know. I will say we have one solo female looking for a solo female roommate, but when it's time.
No pressure.
I love how Michelle just sneaks these things in there.
I did.
So if there's
I
also,
did.
if there's a solo female out there listening, we have a spot for you.
Yeah.
You don't need to bring a partner and a roommate.
There you go. There you go. And I'm sure going solo has its own, it could be its own healing type of, I can't even think of a word, but that in itself might be something incredible to experience.
We have 4 solo females right now.
Okay.
Yeah. 5. And
5.
yeah. And it is very healing. And that energy, women sharing female energy, is very powerful. Of course, we're a couple. We always welcome couples. We've got a couple going on the trip. But if there are solo females out there looking for community, we're community for you.
There you go. Okay. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for being on. So much great information that you shared. For my listeners, again, I'm going to put the information in the show notes. They could reach out to you. So anybody that has questions, we're going to put your website, your social media is all at Cruising with the Colemans. They could ask questions. They could come to me and ask questions. And I just want to thank both of you for taking the time out of your busy day to be on the podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having us. We hope that we inspired you and everyone listening to take an adventure, because you're not promised tomorrow. So get out and take an adventure while you can.
Yes, and that is something I say, preach, call it what you want. Thank you for that. People could reach out to me on Inspired Travels with Patti at Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you are listening to the podcast, please hit the follow button. You could also watch us, and there will be photos of your latest trip by going to the YouTube channel, Inspired Travels with Patti. And for me, travel isn't just about where you go. It is about how you live. And this really takes it up a notch. And I want to remind people to live life to the fullest every day.